Alright guys, so I know a lot of people like the EternaBond tape, and I understand it does serve its purpose. On this slide out, they use it as flashing on top of the roof, and it's peeling off. So this is going to be a miserable experience cleaning this stuff off and getting new stuff on. So this is why I'm not a very big fan of EternaBond, because it's not a magical compound. It's really just a layer of TPO plastic or membrane with basically gray butyl tape underneath it. That's really, really sticky. That's how it's EternaBond, but it's not EternaBond. It does pretty good bond, is I guess what I would call it. So here's the slide out. I've already had to replace the middle section because that's where the roof is seamed. This is a metal roof. This is aluminum. So they seamed it in the middle, so that has to be there in order to protect the seam. And then that's using this as a flashing against the fascia board right there. I don't know if you can see. So I've replaced this section up to there because that was being ripped off. Well, not ripped off, it was just falling off. So here we got the tape. So there's that TPO layer I was telling you about. It's not magic, and it's really just a butyl sealant underneath it. So now I have to get all of this stuff off, but it's going to be very, very sticky. This turns into a horrible, disgusting, gross mess. Luckily this is on metal, so I can scrape it and clean it pretty well. I don't have to worry about solvents damaging like a rubber membrane. So I'm just using mineral spirits. So let me get this cleaned up. Alright, so I don't know if you guys can hear that, how sticky that is. It does stick really well. So this is going to be a miserable experience. This will be about an hour long just to get this section up and clean so I can put a new section down. And I mean, I know, how do I put this? This is not the original flashing that was on there. The original stuff was actually tar based, so it was black adhesive. So somebody's actually replaced this before. You can kind of see where they were grinding away at, grinding away at it. I don't know what they were using, probably an oscillating tool. It's not a vital, it's just a flashing that's still going to be sealed underneath here, but I'm not going to own this slide out because I'm modifying how the factory sealed it. So I'll put the stuff back on again, and then that's the worst part about these is that it's underneath the slide out topper, and so it's really difficult to get access to this EternaBond. Alright, let me set you guys up and you can watch. So right here you should see the old stuff. This is tar based. It's even worse because it makes a bigger mess. So whoever changed it out didn't get all the old stuff off. I don't blame them. So this is actually the sealant underneath this molding right there. This is what's actually going to be doing all the sealing. This is just, this is flashing to keep water from trying to get underneath it. Alright, so that was just the first 2 feet I have to do. I don't know, maybe 2.5 feet. So that was just the first pass. Because I still have to come through, use some rubbing alcohol, clean off the residue, clean it up one more time. You can see that other stuff with the tar, it just leaves a mess everywhere you go. But it's not too bad yet, because I always wear gloves, but that's what we've been pulling off. It's pretty gross looking. You have to make sure you don't get it anywhere you don't want it, because you have to clean it off all over again. And then once the solvent cures or flashes off, you have to clean this off all over again, like 5 or 6 times. That's just what we got on the ground so far. So no, I speak illy about EternaBond for the most part. And it's not because it doesn't work, it's just that I'm the one always having to clean it off. I know I get a lot of comments that, well, it just wasn't installed right, that's why it didn't stick. But if we take a look at this, you can see the adhesive, even when I was pulling it off, it stuck really, really well. There weren't any bubbles, there weren't any gaps underneath it. Whoever put it on did a good job. This stuff, the TPO is just coming loose pretty easily. Once that pulls off, you really don't have anything other than goopy sealant underneath there. That doesn't have any body to it. It's not going to keep water out. It doesn't serve its purpose. Now it just makes it that much more difficult to clean off. They're going to use EternaBond right here, because if you use any sort of sealant in the heat, it will eventually soften up enough that it's going to stick to the seals. And I'm sure everybody's seen slide out wiper seals with butyl putty tape on them, because as it oozed out, it got stuck on there. So that's the number one reason why I don't like EternaBond, because I don't like cleaning it up. The number 2 reason is that it's usually used in the wrong application. It's good to repair a torn roof, for sure. It's good as an emergency repair. But if a roof has a leak, it needs the leak needs to be fixed. Don't just put a band-aid on it. This is literally just slapping a band-aid on a problem. It doesn't form very well around Dicor. So to do it correctly, if you're going to use it as flashing around a skylight or a vent or anything, you have to take all the old sealant off anyways. And if you're going to do that, take the 5 extra seconds to fix the leak problem. Either replace the vent or secure it back down again. Taping over the top of it really doesn't solve a purpose, no matter what most people think. All right. Let me get the rest of this pulled off, and then we'll go from there. Alright, so here we are. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that wasn't all EternaBond. EternaBond doesn't use tar, and so it looks a lot worse because of that. But there is still a lot of EternaBond sealant right in there. The gray stuff's going to be EternaBond. So that's my hand now. This stuff is thick. Can't hardly hold my phone. So the next step is going to be to change out my gloves and then use some mineral spirits to get everything cleaned off, and then we'll get some solvent to clean it off one last time, clean off the rest of the roof, and then we can put new tape down. Alright, so that's pretty much all cleaned off. Last thing I got to do before we put the tape down is going to be to use some solvent. Now, because I'm at a body shop, I'm just going to use some thinner, some paint thinner. This is metal, so this won't leave a residue. But I can't let this stuff run down the side, because then, you know, I'll be painting a motorhome. So let's get rid of the rest of the residue. And yeah, it's not looking so good, right? But what I will say is, all these little grooves, I didn't do that. The person that did this before did this. They likely used that isolating tool that a lot of people like to use, which does work, but it can damage things. Luckily, all it did was scrape off paint. All right, so I got that cleaned off. Let's take a look at it. So I'm pretty sure I got the majority of the residue off. All that black tar that was on there is gone. That stain, that off-white stain, that's just what tar does to things. So let me go get the tape and we'll lay this out. What you might notice is that I'm going to have a seam. This won't be one continuous piece. Ideally it would have been best to be one continuous, but I'm going to do this in sections. That way I don't risk doing a bad job on one little section and having to redo it like 3 times. Because it can be hard to put this tape down without getting bubbles or getting it crooked. And again, this is just flashing. So let me go get it. Alright guys, let's get a few hateful things out of the way first. One, I know this is not EternaBond. What I took off was EternaBond. What the factory used was not EternaBond. I understand that EternaBond is a brand name for a particular product. So I understand that. But it's not unlike Kleenex or Levi's. That's just the catch-all phrase now for roof repair tape is EternaBond. They're all made pretty much the exact same way. Let me get that hate out of the way. This is not EternaBond that I'm putting back down. This is just going to be a more generic roof repair tape. So this is the repair tape I'm using. It's Quick Roof Extreme. It's obviously not as good because it's got paper backing on it, but it works for its purposes because I can't locate EternaBond right now. It works just as good as EternaBond. It's the exact same process. EternaBond might be a little bit thicker on the TPO, but that's about it. So I got that out of the way. Let's get back to work. So I've already laid this out, so I knew if my tape was long enough. I didn't want to get halfway done and find out that I was making another seam. I try to do. It's not easy. I'll get one edge started. Right here, looks like I have to cut it off a little bit. So always use a new razor blade. So you can see that this is very sticky stuff. Okay, get that out of the way. So rather than trying to put it all out at once, I like to get it started and laid out because we have to keep this pretty much parallel to the roof. Just gonna overlap that edge a little bit. Ooh, look at that. See, I already almost got a bubble in it. Alright. So I got that going. I know everybody's going to tell me, yeah, you got to have a roller or else it won't stick. I got a roller. Okay, guys, just relax. Alright. So, we're rolled down. Now I'm just going to roll this back. And it's a long, boring process. I won't lie to you guys. The EternaBond stuff usually has a clear plastic backing on it that comes off a lot better than this stuff. I would definitely not recommend getting this stuff. But when you're in the world that we're in, sometimes you have to work with what's available and not what the best thing in the world is. So again, I'm just laying this out. It's kind of hard to see. Stretches I'm putting down. Get that edge started. Push that edge down. Try to work out the air bubbles that way. Once this is down, we're going to roll it out. You'll have to excuse me, my camera overheated. It's end of October, but it's still very hot here. All right, so I don't want to go too much over the top of this radius corner right here. I'll probably actually cut it at a little bit of an angle so there's not an edge that gets picked out each time. As the seal goes by, I'll actually have to go down it. And that'll help direct the water away from this little corner right here. That's the only thing I really care about protecting. Alright, so that's down. We did pretty well as far as not making too many bubbles in it. Of course, this is the vital step, I know everybody will say, is you got to roll it out. You can get a little hand roller, so you can just work one edge of this floor roller that I use for laminating sidewalls. I just want to start at this corner right there and try to get rid of as much of that air bubble as I can and push it out, because this is the edge that we actually care about. I don't really care about on top. And I just go ahead and roll that top on to the edge. Alright, and that's pretty much how it goes. It won't be perfect. It never will be perfect. So don't try to make perfection a goal. Like I said, I'm more concerned about making sure this lip right there is directing water off the roof. So the last thing I have to do is just cut this. I like to just do arbitrary cuts. I don't know why. Alright, and with that, this is done. Last thing I'll do is just get some solvent and I will clean off whatever residue is left on top. Alright guys, so there you have it. Just a little bit of advice on how to install EternaBond roof repair tape. Maybe not EternaBond especially. How to take it off. I did show you how to take EternaBond off. I still have this last section right about here to there to do, but that's the exact same thing all over again. So you might see my videos and think that I hate EternaBond. It's not that I hate EternaBond, I just hate cleaning it up for one thing, but generally it gets used where it shouldn't be used, or in applications where the leak needs to be fixed first, and putting EternaBond on top of lap sealant is already, I don't know, I can put this in any better terms, it's not doing anything. The only other real takeaway I'll take from this is that EternaBond does have the better plastic release tape on the back of it, so it comes off a lot easier. Dicor does make a repair tape for their rubber roofs, but it actually has a rubber top of it. I'm not a big fan of that stuff. It has like a diamond shaped embossed texture to it. That stuff I really am not a big fan of. So that's definitely why I didn't use that stuff. EternaBond does work in good applications, and this is how you do it, and this is what it's for. Thanks a lot. Alright, well, so there it is, all done. It's not a very fun day, guys. All the way down to the end. Around and all the way up to there. So now I just have to put this new seal on and then put the topper back on and then put the slide seals on, and then I might actually be done with this thing. Of course, there's screw heads that get in the way of all of this.